Hello, curling fans, and welcome back to another edition of the Broom Brothers, the official podcast of the Grand Slam of Curling and of the Curling Group. John Cullen with you for a special interview episode. We know Rock League is coming up April 6th to 12th, Mattamy Athletic Center in Toronto, Ontario. Tickets still available, by the way, rockleague.com, but they are going fast. So if you want to be in the building in person to experience it all, head on over to rockleague.com. We know fans have questions. Obviously, this is a new thing for everybody. We know that you want to know exactly what is going on. And so we have a two-pronged discussion. We've brought the curling group's rules expert back on the show, Brent Laing. Remember, we talked to him back before the start of this season, had a great chat with him. He's on top of all the rules, all the changes in curling. And Rock League has a very unique rule set. There's going to be some things tried that have never been tried in curling before. The format is going to be a little different than anything we've ever seen. So we're going to talk to Brent about that. And then the CEO of the curling group, Nick Sulsky, is going to join us and tell us what he's excited about. Obviously, we're 10 days out from Rock League launching for the first time. And so very exciting to chat to him about everything that is going on. And he's going to give you the lowdown on all the different theme nights, the activations. We've got a ton of stuff going on for the fans in the building in Toronto. So yeah, we'll talk to Nick about all of that and more once we get to chatting to him at the end of this episode. But before we get to Brent Laing, a reminder, this episode is brought to you by Goldline Curling. The end of season sale is just about nigh. So if you're looking to grab some last minute stuff, and look, we know it's going to have to sit in the closet for the summer. Your curling season is probably already over, close to over, but you know you're going to be back on the ice in the fall. So head on over to goldlinecurling.com and check out all the products they have available. Tons of stuff on sale. There's free shipping if you spend a certain amount. There's also some beautiful apparel. My mom's birthday was recently. I bought her one of these beautiful Team Canada crew neck sweaters with the beautiful maple leaf logo that you saw the teams wear at the Olympics on it. There's tons of apparel, tons of gear on sale. Of course, that includes hardline curling products as well. So lots going on there. Check it out. It's the end of season sale at goldlinecurling.com. All right. It is now time to chat to Brent Laing, rules guru. He's going to run us through all of the changes you're going to see at the Rock League, a lot of which I think are very exciting and you are going to love. Let's get to Brent Laing right now. All right, I'm pleased to be joined by Brent Laing, one of the rules experts over at the curling group. And Brent, not to blow up your spot right away, but I'm hearing you're getting a new title at Rock League. Can you?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, I believe. Aren't you head official? Am I saying something wrong here?
Don't call me an official because I said I'd never be one. So I don't know what the title is. Let's just say that there's a lot of new rules and formats and stuff, and somebody has to be around to hopefully explain them and make things run smoothly. So, but I can't do that by myself. So Craig Saville and I are reunited, and it feels so good. We're going to be the on ice. Call us play coordinators, like a golf.
Okay.
Golf team, right? We're going to make sure that everything goes smooth. We're not there to make too many decisions, although there is a new hogline wrinkle that will fall on our shoulders. But yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there's a bar on the ice, so hopefully I won't be in there. I'll be kind of on the sheets, but we'll see.
Yeah, there might be like a night game. They call for you, and you're nowhere to be found. Sorry, I can't tell whether that rock is in the house or not. And you don't want me to bring the biter bar out at this moment in time.
That's
It could be a disaster. Well, yeah, we are going to talk about some of the specific rules of play that I think will be new to the fans for Rock League. I think mostly we're operating under kind of normal curling rules, but yeah, there's going to be a few things to pick out to talk about. But first of all, I think, you know, fans are always curious about this. So maybe just tell me, how did the process of putting together the rules come together? Because as we're going to see and as we're going to talk about, there's a lot of unique rules here for Rock League. So tell me a little bit about the committee and how you kind of put this document together.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was quite a few people involved, and I don't think there's an official, hey, it came down to these 2 or 3 or 4 people. I think there was a lot of people talked to, a lot of players, a lot of stakeholders, but the whole thing wrapped around doing something different, doing something for the fans, something that is unique. And I think the big part of that was having men and women not just on the same team, like the same big team, the same franchise, but making sure that they're going to curl some games together. The mixed fours is pretty cool. Obviously, the mixed doubles was a hit at the Olympics, and having that be a part of it. So it was all really wrapped around the idea of how do we make it as fun and interesting as possible for not just the traditional fan. I think the traditional fan, and lots of them talking to, are excited about the format changes, but also how do we attract a new fan? Like to go into a sporting event and say, I have no idea what's going on here, but man, it's fun to be here. I think curling's kind of missed the boat on that for a while, to some extent. And that's Rock League's trying to fix that up. And obviously format doesn't fix that. That's in venue experience. And you see the layout of the sheets and those types of things. But that was kind of the basis for the decisions. And then from there, yeah, how do we make it faster? I think is part of it. We do have a timeline. Every game's going to be done in 2 hours, and that's not optional. That's going to happen. So, that's kind of cool. I mean, curling 8-end games were supposed to be done in 2 hours. For whatever reason, it's got stretched out. So I think those were the two kind of, one was there was a timeline for TV and things. Obviously, that's important. And then the other one was, it needed to be a little bit different. Professional curling. Curling Unleashed, it's Rock League. The name, everything suggests fun and a good time for the fans, but it's going to be competitive on the ice.
Oh, I think there's no question about that it's going to be super competitive. And yeah, let's talk about that competition, because I think at this point, most fans know that from Monday to Friday, and then also on Championship Sunday, the teams are going to be playing each other in what we're calling a match. So there'll be 3 games within a match. There'll be 1 men's game, 1 women's game, 1 mixed doubles game. And then if you win 2 of 3, you get the match point. Now, I think some obvious questions that fans are going to ask is, well, what happens if you win all 3 games? So is there a rule for that? Is there an incentive for, we dominated the other team and we won all 3?
Yeah, so the Monday to Friday is really for rankings. That's going to determine who you play in the mixed fours on Saturday. And then the Monday to Saturday, the rankings, the points you win as a franchise are going to get you into the top 4, because only 4 of the 6 franchises make the playoffs on Sunday. So if you do sweep a draw, we wanted to make sure that, hey, if Team Maples won the first 2 games against Team United, Team Maple has won the first 2 games against whoever, Typhoon, whoever you want to pick, then the 3rd game's not over yet. We don't want them to just stand around and say, oh, well, that was fun. We're kind of done. We've won the match. We've won the point. So they're going to get a bonus half point. And with that, hopefully that's going to do 2 things, because the points are going to determine your rankings. Hopefully there'll be less tiebreakers. We do have a tiebreaker in place, which is total points scored. So there'll be no shaking early, which is I think better for a fan. You come to see your favorite player and they're not quitting after, 5 ends. So yeah, that's the bonus. If you sweep all 3 games in the match, then you're going to get a bonus half point. So it's 1 to win the match, and then a bonus half, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I think I really like it for exactly what you said. You don't want that 3rd game that's still out there to be kind of a dead rubber. And I also love that we're keeping the teams playing the whole time. I mean, I think we're expecting these teams are pretty evenly matched. The games are going to be close for the most part. But, you and I have curled for a long time. Even the best teams have bad games sometimes, and you could see blowouts. So I like the idea of the teams playing right to the end, and that's going to keep everybody engaged in the building. Now, you talked about that 2-hour broadcast window. Let's talk about how we are planning to get inside that broadcast window, because for the first time ever, at least in my recollection or memory, and yours maybe goes back a little further than mine, but we're playing 7-end games. To talk to me about that.
Yeah, so two things was, the broadcasters said, well, we'll happily broadcast it where there was lots of interest, but we want to get it into a 2-hour window. So we put our heads together and said, well, how do you do that? And Jennifer Jones, my wife, and I were involved in the Everest North American Challenge. That it was Canada versus US, and they had the same thing. To be on CBS Sports had to be in 2 hours. So we again got together with some people who knew curling and said, I think it needs to be 7 ends. And we didn't even use time clocks to make that happen. So we have the advantage of time clocks this time. It was just, I was in a similar role where I was on the ice talking to the players in between ends, updating them. We had targets we were trying to hit, and it went off, honestly, without a hitch. It went off so well that Brian Mudryk and Jen had to fill time at the end of the broadcast because the players listened so well. And so I don't think it seems kind of like it's going to be rushed, but I really don't think it is. We'll give Craig a whip just in case people get out of line. But yeah, we've reduced the time as well. And, I've never done any research on how long does the average draw take? How long does the average hit take to not just throw, but then clear the sheet so that the clocks start? Because we tried to really, we didn't want to just wing it. So I'm not saying we've got it nailed, but I'm pretty confident that it's going to go off well enough that it's not going to be a disaster. How about that?
Well, let's talk about that because it's not only that it's 7 ends, but I think of all the rules, I got sent the rules sheet about a week ago, and this was one of the ones that really stuck out to me, which is that it's not only that it's 7 ends, but it's 21 minutes of thinking time, which for fans who maybe don't know, right now in a typical Grand Slam of curling game, it's an 8-end game and the teams get 30 minutes. So we are taking only one end away from them and we are chopping 9 minutes off their clock. How did you arrive at that 21-minute number? Because at first blush, it does look very tight.
I just put a bunch of numbers on a wall and threw a dart. No, what we first did was we looked at, okay, so the slams are 8 ends, 30 minutes, but there's, 2 90-second timeouts. So let's just look at how much time do we have to play the game. So you have 33 minutes for 8 ends. Essentially, we've taken away, we've lots of time, 21 minutes, but we've added same amount of time, but 3 individual 60-second timeouts.
Yeah.
So they basically have 24 minutes for 7 ends instead of 33 for 8. Massive difference. You and I have been in the booth all year at GSOC, and one of the things we did was took away 3 minutes, and people were like, oh, that's way too much. And I think you'd agree, you don't even notice now, and there's definitely more we could take away. There's a lot of wasted time in a curling game, and we don't want fans to feel like it's slow out there. So, but no, we looked at it and, talked again, within that 2-hour timeline, what does it have to look like? How much could we take away? How much do teams end with at slams now? Difference being, the coaches are going to be able to interact, the GM. So the timeout, the 60-second timeout is just to stop the clock for 60 seconds. It has nothing to do with, there's no travel time. There's none of that because the GM could already be on your sheet, not on the ice, but standing beside it halfway down. They can be wherever they want to be.
Right.
So without, trying to make it crazy fast and stole some, some information and some experience from mixed doubles where it is faster, right? Like it's a faster game. And I personally don't think, and talking to some players, I won't name names, but the players are so good now that I think some small mistakes in strategy or quick decisions that lead to a mistake or, oh, I didn't see that, it adds intrigue and maybe adds a little interest to the game. And we're not trying to make it so fast that they're not going to play well, but that's not going to be an issue. These players will be able to adjust to whatever we throw at them.
Yeah, I think so too. And I also will say, I think one thing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that immediately sticks out is, we're going to have a lot of players that have never played together before. And we're going to have a lot of people who are sort of used to being let's say the strategic driver on their team, and that's not always the skip. Right? Like a lot of times that can be the third or the second who has a ton of input in their team strategy. So was that part of the conversation too, of just trying to help the teams almost like just put the strategy in the skip's hands and let's get to business?
Partially. I mean, again, it doesn't have to be in the skip's hands, it could be in anybody's hands. But I think if you watch a curling game, there is a lot of kind of wasted time. And one of the things I've always questioned is, okay, so every shot's super important in a curling game now. Yes, the last shot at the end, the skip shots, but why do we take, why does the skip have to stay down there and put down the ice? And like the third's not an idiot. They could probably put down the ice for you. The shot you're going to play, but instead we spend 45 seconds to a minute talking about it and hit and roll. And it's like the third just played an equally difficult and important shot. And it took 6 seconds to put the broom down and throw the shot. Now it's taking a minute for the skip to do it. Especially if, maybe Ross White's your third or who knows who your third's going to be. Maybe just get out of there and say, this is what I want to play. put the broom down, you get to the other end. It's like, yeah, I like that ice. Let's make it. So yeah, all that to say, there's a lot of pressure on the GMs in terms of they're being asked to do a lot of things that coaches in curling generally haven't been asked to do. And that's one of them is they're going to have to figure out how to put those teams together so that maybe there are some clear roles. Like, yeah, Rachel's going to call the game because that's Rachel's personality, or depending on who she's playing with, or, whether it's Brad Jacobs, who he tends to like input. That's the one team on tour, I think, where the lead calls the game openly, and probably to their benefit. They've started winning more since that change was made, but it's going to come down to the individual players and the team, and the GM is going to have a lot of important decisions to make in a short period of time. I know they've been working hard behind the scenes, and rightfully so. They've got a lot of decisions to make.
Yeah, I think it is going to be interesting to see how the GMs get involved. I love you mentioning that they don't have to be on a bench somewhere or whatever. They can be walking around. They can be doing what they want. And just for clarity, we don't have to talk about it. The mixed doubles games are going to stay 8 ends so that they stay about the same length as the 7-end 4-person game, which I think is really good. We're also keeping the 1 blank end rule from the slam, so each team will only be allowed to blank 1 end. I don't think that needs a ton of discussion between you and I, but one rule that will definitely need a little bit of explaining, and probably one that we're going to be explaining throughout the week on the broadcast as well, is the no tick rule is changing quite a bit. So right now, the no tick rule is if a guard that's in the free guard zone is touching the center line, you are not allowed to tick it. If you are the opposing team, and if you tick it off the center line, the rock goes back and your rock is out of play. Now we are seeing perhaps a super-sized version of this no-tick rule. Can you walk me through that?
Yeah, the idea is that the free guard zone is designed to generate offense, and we don't want teams to be able to just defend. And the one shot it's specifically designed to eliminate is how good the teams have become at the the corner guard tick, where they tick it over, open up the one that's buried, and roll in behind the center or roll into the rings. And then the end it's not over, but it's way less exciting, way less interesting, fewer rocks in play. So we want to say, hey, the free guard zone was made so that there was guards out there. And when it was made, we weren't good enough to make any of these shots. The tick shot, when we started, we used to play with peel weight, John.
I know. Wayne Madaw was one of the first guys to do it. And you just
nobody made down there. That's an impossible shot. So over time, like I said, the players, if we give them rules, they're going to figure them out. And this is designed to, give the team that's trying to generate offense the ability to do that. I think the no tick on the center line has made the last end without the hammer way more exciting and way higher possibility of a steal. It's not 50-50 by any means, but you're seeing way more interesting ends rather than tick, tick, peel, 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 draw, bite the 4-foot because you've made those tick shots, or full 8-foot. And it's not as exciting as seeing some rocks in play. So of course, everybody's saying, well, what if it just barely touches it? And we're going to use some common sense. I know it's not that common always, but in curling, let's hope it is. If you're not sure it moved the rock, then it didn't. Like it needs to be noticeably moved, and it's going to be up to the non-offending team. I know we don't like that in curling in general, but if they want to leave it because it's in their best interest, like if I'm trying to steal and somebody wrecks on my center guard and leaves another center, I might say, no, that's fine. Leave that. Yeah. Or if I want to take it off, I can take it off and put it back. So I hope in theory, it doesn't seem complicated. I hope in reality it's not, but I don't think it's going to be. And I do think it solves the challenge of, even the high side, you're up 3 and you're chipping the corner guard into the rings and rolling your shooter out. We don't want to see that because, again, get back to the entertainment value. That's a great shot. Those players are super skilled, but the new curling fan doesn't care. And they're like, why did they do that? That looks like a bad shot, and now there's nothing happening. I don't like this game.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense to me. And I think too, when we talk about points for being a tiebreaker and all that kind of thing, it's even a case where maybe we see a 7th end where, one team is down, let's say 8-2 or something like that, but they might have a chance to generate a 3 or 4 in the 7th end because they can put their corner guard up and it can't be disturbed for the first 5 stones.
Yeah, and there's a 2-point button in the last end too.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that. So that's another addition. This is going to be in both the mixed doubles and the 4-person games, but in the final end, so the 7th end for the 4-person games, the 8th end for the mixed doubles games, covering the pin is going to be worth 2 points. We've seen that used once or twice before, but not on any sort of grand scale like this. What do you like about the 2-point pin?
I think it just adds a little bit more excitement, a little bit more ability for a comeback, or a 3 or even a 4. Now 4 is not impossible. I mean, 3 is definitely not impossible. So I think it's maybe going to cause the team defending to kind of muck it up in the middle a little bit and try and almost block and guard the pin a little bit. So I think it's going to lead to some exciting finishes. I think this is the John Cullen rule, isn't it? Weren't you heavily involved in bringing this to be? Although you asked the question.
I did make the suggestion, yes.
Yeah, although you asked the question yesterday that I would have taken away your question asking abilities when you said, can 2 be covering the pin? And John, no, they can't. Come on.
Well, it says in the rules, the definition is covering the pin means the laser device does not fit into the pinhole. Does that not mean you can have 2 rocks side by side, both covering the pin?
Well, you could have 4 then, because you can't get the thing in there. You might even be able to have 8.
Well, then, so what are we doing here?
That's when we send in Saville.
Yeah, exactly. Sav, let's get Sav on the horn. Oh, he was off this draw. He's at the hotel, but we'll call him and we'll bring him over quickly to decide. Well, I mean, I'm trying to anticipate any of the problems. Look, we saw at the Olympics, even the rule book of curling can't anticipate all of the problems. So I'm just trying to be a problem anticipator here, Langer. That's all I'm trying to do. I have no vested interest. I'm just excited. I think, I think it's more like you said, we're trying to generate excitement. So I don't know if the 2-point pin is actually going to generate excitement or not. Does it make the end a little bit more defensive because teams are trying to protect the pin? I don't know, but I do love the idea of, as you say, like 3 is almost automatically on the board before the end starts if you play a great end. And then, like you said, it brings 4s and even 5s into play. I think that's what intrigued me about it. And I'm curious to see it in practice for sure.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be interesting. And it's one that fundamentally changes the strategy in an end. And when you have to relearn strategy a little bit, then you'll make some mistakes, and that leads to some exciting finishes. I think what I would anticipate is it's going to lead to all the action in the center. And when you're up 1 without coming home, you're going to be super scared. Like, I don't think you're going to want to be in that situation ever.
No.
So that might change strategy in the second last end, which is the 6th end. And yeah, it can just change everything. So again, until you try a rule, you don't know, but I think it's intriguing to say the least.
I agree completely. And I was going to say too, like, to your point, we saw it this year when we switched to the 1 blank per game rule. It did scramble some teams' brains a little bit. And that's ultimately, like you said, it's not our goal necessarily, but it's kind of a nice little byproduct sometimes of a rule change that you make. Exactly. So there's only a couple more that I want to get to now that we've talked about the 2-point button and everything. I think this one is going to be interesting. Speaking of the Olympics, maybe this is talk about byproducts. Maybe this is a byproduct of Boopgate or whatever. But we are going to test and then perhaps implement hogline challenges. Talk to me about that, because all I heard in the Olympics was, well, we don't have those because the technology doesn't exist, or it would be too hard to enforce. So what's the plan for that?
Yeah, we're going to, like you said, we're going to test it first. I think for the first few days, we're going to have cameras set up and we're going to test it internally. I don't believe, unless the technology, I'm not the techie, as anybody that knows me knows, but we're going to have cameras set up. I know that. And we're going to have the ability to check on the hog lines. And obviously, some of the challenges are, will you be able to see through players' legs? And, as kids and juniors, when the hog line officials were out there, it was like, yeah, we intentionally stood right beside the rock until they told us not to. And then you accidentally did it a few more times. But long story short, we hope that it works well. It hasn't been tested before, so we don't want to just throw it in there. And one of the worries is, how long will it take? So we got to get pretty good at it pretty quickly. Like, it can't be a 4 or 5 minute thing when we're already in a tight timeline. But the theory is good. If you have a challenge, and I think John Cullen was over the hog line there. I was standing watching and he was over. We're going to throw our challenge. If we're right, John's rock comes off, everything goes back. If we're wrong, and the officials, the play coordinators, not the officials, the play coordinators say, hey, no, that wasn't an infraction, then I lose 60 seconds. I either lose a timeout if I have one, or if I don't have any timeouts left, I lose 60 seconds off my clock. which is a pretty big penalty, I think.
In a 21-minute game, very much so, yes.
Right. So you're going to want to be sure, because we don't want it like, I don't know about you, but the new baseball is painful to watch. Everybody challenging like balls and strikes. And so it's adding another element of some gamesmanship potentially, just something in the back of players' minds. And the whole idea is let's let go of the rock before the hog line. We've all done it. We've all slid too long and held on too long. No different than we've, overset an out turn and missed a shot. But the idea is that we've, as a sport, started to take a few too many liberties with the hog line at the Grand Slams and, tour events, anywhere the handles are not. So that's the whole design of it.
Well, and I think you and I both know behind the scenes, there are players who are talked about as sort of habitual hogline violators. And you know what? I think a lot of times people are wrong about that. Like it looks like they're holding it at the hogline, but they're not really. They're just really close or whatever. So I am looking forward to that element of it as well, where I think these Rock League teams are going to go into Rock League thinking, well, I know for sure that Brent Laing is over the hog line 90% of the time. I can't wait to call it on him, and then it turns out it's just the optics of your release make it look like you're not letting it go, but you actually are. So, I'm excited for that. And again, to be clear, it may not end up being used in games. We have to get there and we have to test it out first internally. So no guarantee, but right now the plan is we'll see it. We'll test it internally during the week. And then hopefully for the weekend matches, we will actually see it in use. Just a couple more. Speaking of that weekend, those weekend matches, Saturday, I think, is something that has the fans very excited because that's where we go to the actual mixed fours, where we're going to see men and women playing together. So during the week, all 10 players are going to be in action. There's 10 players per squad. We're going to see 4 men, 4 women playing against the other teams, 4 men and 4 women, and then the mixed doubles pair. But simple math indicates when we get to mixed fours, we're going to have an extra player. We're going to have someone sitting on the bench of each gender. There'll be 2 players on the bench. So to walk me through a little bit about how the substitutions are going to work, how do the GMs get involved in that? Like, what do you anticipate as far as the mixed fours goes, the structure and the format?
Yeah, I think 2 things. First, before we get to mixed fours, the GM, the teams are going to have the ability to make positional changes in between ends. I mean, mixed doubles, it's already a part of it. We don't see it happen very often, but some teams still do it. At the end of an end, you can switch. I can throw first and last instead of the middle 3 if I want, if Jen and I deem that to be a good idea. That's on the table for the fours, all fours games, men's, ladies, where there's no substitutions. But you could say, you know what? Again, pick on Brad and Rachel just because of the names that come to mind. Brad's struggling. Let's switch him out with Ross White or whomever's on his team. And Rachel, you're going to get switched with Xenia. She's running hot from the World Championships. You don't seem to care. You're having a tough day. We're going to switch you after an end. So that's a possibility. Then when you get to the mixed fours, the only rule that the GMs have to follow is like traditional mixed curling. It has to alternate male, female, male, female, or female, male, female, male. They can put out 2 female skips, 2 male skips, as long as it alternates. But, and then the 2 substitutions on the bench. If you're going to, the only substitutions can be at the completion of an end.
Yep.
It has to be from the bench to the ice. So again, I can't switch Rachel from sheet B with Xenia from sheet A because Rachel's won her game and I want to get her in the other game. I have to put her on the bench first for a full end. So if it's halfway through the end, she's got to wait and then she can go into the other game. But it has to be from the bench to the game. You can switch the positions as much as you like, as long as it alternates man, woman, or woman, man. So I think that kind of covers it. And at first glance, it seems confusing, but I don't think it is actually all that confusing.
I mean, I think it's going to be interesting because we've never seen that before where you can go from one game to a completely different game. That I think is going to be very interesting and fun to watch.
Yeah, and I don't even know that GMs will use it, right? Like going from the ice might be a little bit different, sheet to sheet, or it's a big change in curling. And even coming off the bench, going into a game, the only time you do that in curling is when your team is up 7 or 8 and you're the 5th and you want to get into the Brier, get your Tyler Tardy's rocks in at the Olympics and, that kind of thing. So it's not normal. So I don't know how the GMs will use it, but we want them to have the ability to do what they see is the best for their team. and have a little bit more traditional sporting rules for substitutions.
I am super excited. Can't wait. I really appreciate you running through all these rules with me. I know the fans do as well. Last one, I got to put you on the spot here because this one also stuck out to me as maybe something we haven't seen since you and I were young pups. But I'm reading
we're running
here.
Out of time here, John, I think.
Well, I mean, this was true for both of us. So we'll say that, regardless of our gap in age. But I'm reading here, hammer will be determined by a coin flip. What's going on? We got all these modern rules, and now we're deciding the hammer on a coin flip.
What's more exciting than a coin flip, John?
A lot of stuff. Taking a short walk around the block.
Pretty much anything.
Yeah.
I think you're going to have to ask the CEO about that one. I think that's more from a production and maybe even a sponsorship standpoint. Maybe there's a big coin flip sponsor. I'm not
Okay.
Sure. Let's hope so.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the rule. And that's all I have to say about that.
All right. Well, you know what? Nick Sulsky is due to
Perfect.
hop in here and come on the program. So maybe that will be the first thing that I will ask him about. Thank you, Brent, for joining me. Looking forward to seeing you in Toronto in a couple of weeks.
You bet. Thanks, Johnny.
Thank you to Brent for all of that. I think it's going to be super fascinating to hear from the players, from the fans, what you think of all the changes. 7 ends, no tick rule. We're going to maybe have some hogline cameras, which people were asking for after the Olympics. Just a lot of really cool stuff that's being tried. I know, as Brent said, a lot of the players were involved in these rule changes too. They're excited. So yeah, it's just going to be a new brand of curling, and we're very thrilled to bring it to you. And speaking of being thrilled to bring it to you, let's bring in Nick Sulsky, CEO of the Curling Group. He's going to give us the lowdown on where he's at 10 days out from his professional league launching for the first time. It's very, very exciting. We're also going to talk about a bunch of the stuff that's going to be happening throughout the week. So without further ado, here is Nick Sulsky. All right, I am pleased to be joined by the CEO of the Curling Group, Nick Sulsky. Nick, thrilled to have you back on the show. It's been almost a year. We sat down in Nashville around this time last year, and we talked about Rock League. And now it's coming to fruition, and I'm going to ask you about that. But I have to put you on the spot first because we just had Brent Laing on the show, and I asked him why at Rock League we are flipping a coin for hammer, and he deferred to you. So he said that was all your decision, and he wouldn't answer for it. So I'm putting you on the spot right away. Why are we flipping a coin for hammer?
Well, it wasn't just my decision. Oh my goodness. Wow. Langer passes the buck to me. No, Langer was candidly, he wasn't the most in favor of the coin flip. I mean, you look at, I haven't been shy to reference a lot of other sports as it relates to what we're trying to do and other influences for Rock League. And, you look at other sports, the coin flip is an easy, fair way to get in, save some time. There were broadcast realities around the draw to the button. Mm-hmm. And, the LSD, I think the draw to the button in your classic curling events, a lot of those draws are also used for tiebreakers. Well, we're not using that as a tiebreaker in Rock League. So, the reality is similar to, let's just say, the Super Bowl. Like you don't have you don't have a kicking contest or a running contest in or passing contest.
I think the XFL did one year, and then their star player got hurt on the first one, if I recall correctly.
That's correct. No, I will say it was not an easy decision, but from a timing perspective, we're trying to really hit a tight 2 hours to create a compelling story. But I would bring it back down to the fact that we're not using LSD as a tiebreaker mechanism. So I love the drama of the draws to the button, but as you know, in Rock League, we have the shootouts if a game is tied. So we're not going to lose that. So I think that's the right way to answer it. But man, Langer could have not thrown me under the bus as I walk onto a podcast that I haven't done in a year. I haven't done this in a year. Man,
Well,
I guess I'm a bad guest. Jeez.
no, you're not a bad guest at all. I think I'm just scared of having you on. No, I'm just kidding. But I think what you're saying is all very reasonable. And I do feel bad for putting you on the spot right away. But the fans, I'm sure it's something the fans would ask about. So I think that's really the reason why we want to ask the question. And your answer is completely fair. Now, let's get to the real business. We are about, as we're recording this, we're about 10 days away, 12 days away from the start of Rock League. I'm just going to ask you a general question. How are you feeling about it? How's it all going behind the scenes?
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling anxious as hell, man. Like
Sure.
I've never, and I'll say even though it's not me, like we're a team, but I've never tried to launch a professional sports league before. Like, God, yeah, like there's there's so many moving parts. And we're trying a lot. And it's been it's been a short year. I mean, geez, it's been a short 2 years. Remember, it's been less than 2 years since we took over the Grand Slam of curling.
Yeah.
It's been a crazy couple years. How am I feeling right now? I'm excited. I'm really excited. I'm really excited. I'm excited to see all the curlers and to really watch. I'm really I've grown to become a big fan of curling and a big fan of the curlers. And just as a fan, I'm really excited to see this new format. I think it's going to be really cool. I'm excited. I'm over the moon at the idea of sheet side seating and what that's going to add to the ambiance of being at Rock League. But yeah, I'm anxious. There's just a lot of things and a lot of decisions, like you say, put me on the spot. Like, I honestly feel like especially over the last week, I'm being put on the spot literally every 15 or 20 minutes because decisions have to happen fast. I'm not someone that likes to think of myself as like an authoritarian. Like I'm very much a believer in team and working at getting decisions done collectively because I'm just one opinion in the room. But we're at the stage now where things have to get decided. They have to get decided like immediately. So yeah, I'm kind of used to that. So thanks a lot, man. I thought this was going to be like a break.
You thought coming on my podcast, our podcast, me and Robbie, was going to be a break? I don't think so, man. I like to put the screws to you, and
let's go.
Well, speaking of that, I think this is interesting, because you talk about, you took over in June of 2024. So we're less than 2 years out and you've already made good on a lot of the promises you made when you took over, one of which was the formation of Rock League. And as you said, it's something completely new for curling. It's something new for the fans, but it's also something new for the players. It's also something new for the governing bodies of curling. Obviously we have this sort of established calendar that we've had forever. The Scotties and the Briar happen at a certain time. The Worlds happen at a certain time, whatever. Now we're dropping Rock League into the mix. I'm curious, what has been the response from, let's call it the old guard, for lack of a better word, when it comes to Rock League? Because I think this has been a big shock for a lot of the people who have been involved in curling for decades, literally.
It's a good, compelling, screw driving question. You don't
no break for you, Nick. No break for you.
You don't disappoint John Cullen. Okay, let's take the old guard and separate it into two. Okay, and I don't use old guard. I'll use that very loosely.
Sure, yeah, that was my term. That was my term, not yours.
No, it's all good, man. It's all good. And I think it probably was my term actually in some kind of tweet that I sent out weeks ago, whatever. So as it relates to like World Curling and Curling Canada, British Curling, Scottish Curling, USA Curling, like I would say the kind of the conventional governing bodies of both the international and national sports, we talk a lot. And in working on figuring out how the calendar is going to work has definitely been, it's been a challenge, but like we do communicate with one another quite frequently. I think on their perspective, I think they have a lot of them, if not all of them. I've spent lots of time talking with a lot of them individually, and I don't have to call them out by name. They know who they are. And I think that they've all embraced, at least to me and to my team, that what we're trying to do is necessary for the sport to evolve and grow, right? I think that what curling has lacked forever has been a professional ecosystem to allow not just broadcasters and media, but brands and sponsors and fans to look at curling in the same way that they look at other elite sports around the world. Curling is not just this every 4-year niche event around the Olympics that happens to be popular in Canada. Like it's just not that anymore, but it's hard. It's hard to do that. It's hard to project that to the world, both from an audience perspective and from a brand, sponsor, investor, media perspective, because each of those associations, they have jobs, right? Their jobs are win medals and facilitate and support the grassroots growth of the sport, whether it's in their country or in other countries all around the world. So I think they all understand, or I think they've all bought into what we're trying to do. And I think it's been a challenge, but they've embraced working with us. Not everything's going to be right on day one. And yeah, we're already having conversations about 27, 28, and what are some of the implications of an expanded Rock League season is going to have on nationals, on internationals, on practices. Like we're having those conversations. But I think they've all bought into the fact that what we're trying to do, and I've said this a lot, it is a rising tide lifts all boats scenario, right? And I think they've bought into that, and I think they are all hoping we will be successful. As it relates to I would say there's another old guard. There's more of a traditional guard out there. And I think there's been, from my perspective, because as you know, and as a lot of your audience knows, I am an outsider, or at least I was an outsider up until a couple of years ago. I'm not a curler, right? And I wasn't involved in the curling world. From my perspective on the outside years ago, curling was dwindling. Curling was on the downslope. Like it just, that was my perception. Now, some would say that's why I got involved, because I saw an opportunity. Well, yes, but the opportunity is to grow this whole thing together, because in my opinion, the sport needed a loudmouth promoter type who can build business and brand, right? And not saying that it's just me, but that's what TCG kind of represents for the sport of curling.
Sure.
I've read lots of articles, and I've heard, podcasts, and I've seen tweets, not to call anybody out specifically, but, there's been a lot of conversation around the need for more money in curling, and, there needs to be increased prize purses, and there needs to be more sponsor dollar. The thing that really, and the thing that really boggles my mind is that this idea that like money grows on trees. It's like, you could say there needs to be more money in the sport. Where is that money going to come from? Right. And so what frustrates me is that there is some older guard out there, some more of the traditional fans out there and they haven't come out there and said it, but I get the sense that they don't want to see us succeed, or there's something a little bit like they're not promoting, or they're not being outwardly excited about Rock League. And that's fine. I'm cool with that. But at the end of the day, what are the other solutions for bringing more money into the sport, right? So I think we want Rock League to be a success. Obviously, I hope with every ounce of blood I have in my body that everybody that loves curling will at least give this a chance. Like, just give it a chance, right? Because it's going to be fun, and the curlers have embraced it, right? So there's going to be great energy, there's going to be great entertainment, and at the end of the day, we need more money in the sport. Absolutely 100%. And that money's going to come from brand and sponsors, and the positivity and the audience and the numbers and the excitement. Are we going to get everything right with Rock League? No, we're not going to get everything right with the first year of Rock League, but I think we're going to throw a lot of rocks down the ice, and some of them are going to hit the forefoot. You see, bang. There's a curling analogy, John Cullen.
That's how you appeal to the old guard. You wrap it up with a curling analogy. Well, I mean, I know that we don't have to get too deep into the money of it all, but you bringing that up, I think dovetails nicely into my next question, you have said for a number of years now, when you have been asked to, you've been interviewed by journalists and been on podcasts and stuff, you've talked about this lightning striking the clock tower moment. That there's going to be a ton of eyes on curling after the Olympics. You were very aggressive in coming out publicly and saying that the goal of the curling group is to raise 25 million in this kind of window. And so again, I know that this is a lot of protected information. I'm not asking you to reveal everything, but I guess just generally speaking, how is it going? Are you feeling like from the business side, there is that momentum that you were expecting coming out of the Olympics?
Absolutely. I mean, I think we were very confident that curling would once again have a moment during Milan Cortina. Now, we didn't think it would be like the moment, right? Where the whole world was really talking about it. No, there's been some incredible conversations, great inbound. And at the end of the day, it's not cheap to build a professional sports league, right?
Like, you don't say.
Yeah, exactly, right? Because what we're trying to do is not just build a foundation for Rock League and for the Grand Slam of Curling and TCG and Rock Channel. And we're literally trying to build a foundation for the growth of the entire sport all around the world, right? And the timing of what we're doing has been very, very good because of the boom of the Olympics, because of the increase in franchise values and a lot of these other new sports leagues that are growing and building, that are more mature, obviously, than we are. But the revenue, the kind of the way these teams are being valued is making it very exciting for private equity, venture capital, high net worth individuals, family offices to get involved in this new asset class of sport. And the exciting thing for us is I don't think it's hard to express to people that curling is a sport now. Like, curling is a great sport that could attract real global attention if there was an entity that was built that would serve kind of audiences all over the world, and provide that foundation for investors to increase their value within what they're investing in. Like, people ask me all the time, like, what's the most important metric that you're looking at for TCG, for Rock League, for Grand Slam of Curling? There's only one answer. The answer is shareholder value, right? That's the only answer that any CEO should give. So yeah, I want to see increased eyeballs. I want to see great ticket sales. I want to see incredible video impressions. But at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're building an ecosystem that needs to return value to investors who believe in the sport. I happen to be one of those investors that truly believe that there is a big upside in this sport. So it's going great. It's just a lot of conversations, and it's what I would suggest to other emerging sports league founders that happen to stumble upon this episode. You might want to consider not launching a pro league from scratch while also being a part of a fundraise at the exact same time. It's a little bit time consuming, but
a valuable lesson for us all.
There you go. It adds to the spice. And this was the time. This is exactly when we have to be doing this. And, I don't get to play on the ice, so I don't have to worry about going from the Worlds in Utah and then 2 days later playing in Rock League. I don't have to worry about that. I have to worry about being ready for phone calls and meetings during Rock League, and then also being able to support the team while all the events are happening. So I can manage that part. We'll let the curlers.
It's all very, it's all very exciting, and I think it's, I think fans will be encouraged to hear that, because as you said, there has been this small sect of the curling population that does seem to think either that Rock League failing is good for curling somehow, or that like you're not going to be able to raise money, or no one will be able to raise money. I think, it's well, and you've already proven you can raise money. You did it once already. So I don't know.
And John, this is, and you can validate this, like how much we talk about money, and we want to be able to support the curlers and provide a platform, not only for the current curlers to succeed, but an on-ramp for future elite curlers to actually want to enter the sport. World Championships. It was amazing to see Xenia Schwaller and the girls like win and beat Carey. It was a great final. Both teams had an awesome week. How much money did they win for winning the Worlds?
$0, I believe.
Like, so like that to me is not sustainable in this day and age, to find elite athletes to play how many games, like 15 games in 10 days or something crazy like that. Like,
yeah,
like, man, like that doesn't compute. Right.
Yeah.
So something has to change. And hey, we don't have all of the answers today, but I think we're on the path to discovering some of those answers to fix some of the challenges that I think face the young curlers. At the end of the day, we're here for the curlers, right? Like, people might listen to this and like, oh, this is just some business guy who wants to make money. Of course I want to make money. But at the end of the day, it's the curlers and the stories that they have to tell in their lives. That's the whole point of all of this, right? Yeah. And like $0, like money trees, like I don't know, I don't see one out there. You know, you gotta dig something and put some seeds in the ground. You know.
Well, yeah, we'll have our best people look into that. Let's talk about Rock League itself, because you know, obviously there's all this stuff happening in the background, but we are, as we said, about 12 days away as we record this from the start of it. And I know one thing you have really pushed from the beginning, and this goes to the slams too, but I think especially with Rock League, is that it's not just about the on-ice product. It's also about the off-ice and the things that are happening in venue around the games. So maybe take an opportunity here and tell the fans who are maybe thinking about or are already coming to Toronto to the Mattamy Athletic Center April 6th to 12th to be a part of Rock League. What can they expect? What do you and the team have planned for what's going to be going on around Rock League?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really important, and I'm really excited about that. But I think first and foremost, what fans need to expect with Rock League is incredible elite competitive curling. These are literally the best curlers on planet Earth. 9 gold medalists, 24 out of the 30 total medalists. Like, these are incredible teams. And let's face it, a lot of curlers, a lot of recreational curlers, they don't have the benefit of playing with the same team all year long, every month, practicing and all that, right? They are people who will go and play with a couple random people on a given Monday or Friday or what have you. Well, now we're going to get to see the best curlers in the world try and figure out how to communicate and work together as a team without having months and years of practice and experience. I think that will be really interesting. And again, these are incredible curlers, and we have some awesome rules that I'm sure Mr. Laing expressed to really, you know, incentivize fun, fast, exciting play, right?
Totally.
You know, so I think it's going to be super hyper competitive, which I'm really excited to see teammates playing against each other for the first time in a long time, right? But as it relates to the actual like arena and event, man, like I imagine some of your listeners would have seen the image that we put out there of what we call sheet side seating. Right. In Rock League, there's only going to be 3 competitive sheets of ice. So what we're doing, we're putting a bar and standing and seats right down the middle of the arena. Right. So like basketball is courtside seating, we're going to have sheet side seating. You're going to be literally 2 feet from curlers. Like, you're going to be able to see Brent Laing sweeping like a maniac, and Bobby Lammy like right by you. You can chirp Hammy as he's sweeping by you, you know? I think that's going to be really cool. The sheet side experience, I think, is going to be, I mean, I think it's unlike anything else in sport, to be honest. I'm really excited about that. We're going to have a big fan fest. There's going to be a floor curling tournament where fans are going to be able to compete starting, I think it's going to start Thursday. I mean, there'll be floor curling rinks set up starting on Monday, but we're going to have tournaments Thursday, Friday, Saturday that will lead into a final on Saturday night where actual curlers from Rock League are going to participate with fans. Like, it'll be like an unboxing. Like, here are the 2 mystery curlers on your team for the final. Like, that's going to be super fun, right? We're going to have a live band, the Rock Band. And the Rock Band is going to feature Jeremy Taggart, who was, for many of your listeners would be familiar with the band Our Lady Peace. He was the drummer, Canada Walk of Fame. Jeremy's written a theme song. They're going to hit him and his band are going to be in venue playing live during practices and during walk-ups, and they'll be playing in the the kind of après curl, rock garden, rock party after each end. So there'll be a real fun, festive kind of beer garden vibe. And then every single day, we're also going to play around with like lighting and music. It'll just be fun. There's going to be, lots of, I've heard a rumor that there's going to be a slew of bananas coming into town, which should be no surprise to any of your listeners.
Yeah.
But we're also like every day, obviously Rock League is 7 days long. Every day there's going to be something different. Like Monday, April 6th, which happens to be a holiday day. It's going to be family day, right? There's going to be like face painting and sign making and really fun stations. And Rachel Homan, as again, most of your listeners, some of your listeners know, she just published her first kids book. So there's going to be like a special autograph session with Rach and her book. And then that night, like the first game, Monday at noon, is Alpine versus Shield, which is super exciting because you're going to get gold medalist Brad Jacobs on his team facing silver medalist Alina Pats and her team, and Hammy is on her team, right? Which is going to be pretty fun. And then the nighttime draw is Maple United versus Northern United. It's again the battle of Rachel and Bruce, right? Which if some of your fans would have remembered the battle of the sexes we had last year. Now it's not exactly the battle of the sexes, but that's going to be super fun. Right. And then Tuesday, we're having like a tailgate Tuesday where it's going to be like $5 beers and specials in the rock shop and live music. Like we want to make that pretty fun. There's going to be autograph signings, like literally throughout the afternoon, like in between the first and second draws. Every day, there are going to be tons of like autograph sessions. On a Wednesday, we're calling it like Typhoon Takeover, where we're really going to be celebrating, the Asian Pacific team. A big group of Korean fans, Japanese fans, and even some Chinese fans are coming out. And that'll be a really kind of fun day of I guess, Asian Pacific kind of curling themes and food and things like that. And then Thursday, we're going to have like a fan favorite of every slam. I think of a lot of curling events these days is we're going to have a Pride night on Thursday night. There's going to be like complimentary nail painting and face painting, and there'll be pregame drink specials. And I think the first 150 people at the door for Pride night will receive T-shirts and a gift from one of our partners that is coming in. There's going to be like a DJ, and there'll be a big Pride and pregame and after party after. And then Friday's going to be fun. Friday's going to be like costume night, right? Tons of bananas and freezies and guards and the crayons are coming out, the draws and we're just going to have, it's going to be like costume night on Friday, which will be super, super fun. Saturday, I mean, this I'll give full respect to Jenny and Jenny Cram, Jez Zabo and Christy Petrushuk, who have named Saturday Night Fever. It'll be like great 90s music. We're going to have a ton of fun on Saturday. And candidly, Saturday's the mixed fours day, which I'm super excited about, right? Where every team is going to have two teams of 2 men and 2 women. And then as Langer probably described, the jams are going to be making subs during the game. Yeah, There's going to be some real strategy. And then Sunday, Championship Sunday, man, 2 semifinals and finals. The final, from 1 to 6 live on CBC. There's going to be some surprise musical guests and things like that coming out. Like, at the end of the day, is every day and every activation going to work? No, probably not. But I think there's going to be a lot of fun and there's going to be a little bit for everybody to enjoy. But at the end of the day, after describing all of that, I bring it back to the very first thing that I said. Like, this is going to be elite curling. Like, this is going to be, I think, so interesting to see the extra rocks in play, the shot making that has to happen, and the new styles of communication that have to emerge with these new teams. Not to mention the fact that you're going to have games going on where the players are going to be interested in what's going on. And like, they're all in a unit together, even if they're not playing on that sheet of ice, like, could you see like Alina, who's playing on Alpine, turn to Joelle or to Sven and say, hey, what do you guys think I should do on this shot? Like during a game, like, why not? Like, that's kind of interesting. Everyone's going to be mic'd. Like, who knows? Like, I would say there's no rules, but Langer told you the rules, so I know
there are some rules. We do have to have some rules. Yes, yes. Well, I mean, it sounds super exciting. I think, it's very cool to be thinking about the in-venue experience. I think it's something you identified, right when you took over the slams, as something that has been lacking. So, very excited to see how that all plays out. As you said, the curling on the ice is going to be the main thing. We will be on CBC on Sunday, which is very exciting as well. You can head to rockleague.com and get your tickets. There's still some available for the week, but they are going fast. So don't delay. Nick, any last words before I let you go?
Yeah, I will say that while we're on CBC in Canada, of course, people all over the world will be able to watch on Rock Channel. We are in deep conversations with a US broadcaster, a UK broadcaster, and a global streaming partner as well. Those will happen. We will be sending out notice next week with kind of a where to watch based on where you are. I mean, again, we've done a lot in a couple of years, right? And a lot of people are like, oh, why don't you have this? Why don't you have that? It's like, listen, we're moving really aggressively because, for the nature of the sport, I think we all identified that we had to be super aggressive because the Olympic moment only comes once every 4 years. And for the betterment of everybody, this is the time to strike, and we're striking. And again, my big message is, hey, if you're around the Toronto area, it's curling all day long. It's going to be so much fun. Tickets are not expensive, although they are going pretty fast. And I think that, it would be great to come in and give it a shot, whether you can come in person, watch it on air. And I will say that sheet side experience, man, I cannot wait to be standing next to a sheet, trolling Grant Hardy I might try and make Grant cry as he tries to slide by, because I've seen he likes to tear up from time to time. So that'll be pretty fun.
Well, there you have it. Lots to look forward to for Rock League Week. Thank you so much, Nick, for joining us here on the pod. I know you're a very busy man, so we appreciate it. And to all of you who are listening, hopefully we will see you in Toronto in just about 10 days' time. Woo, thank you to Nick for that. Sorry I had to put him on the spot right away with the whole coin toss thing, but he seemed genuinely a little taken aback by that. I apologize, Nick, when you listen back to this episode, but I like to stir it up a little bit. Thanks to Nick for joining us. Of course, there's going to be more information coming about where you can watch Rock League, all of the activations that are in the building. As we said, tickets are still available at rockleague.com. So pay attention there. I'm sure there's also the mailing list. You can get on there and you'll get some email blasts, some information about what's going on April 6th to 12th, but it is curling's first ever professional league. We are so excited for it. And I know you are going to be excited for it as well. So check it out, rockleague.com. Tickets still available. And that's it for us. If you want to see a video of this episode, you can check it out on the Broom Brothers YouTube. Just search Broom Brothers on there. You can also follow us on social media. We're the Broom Brothers everywhere. We have one more episode before Rock League. As you noticed last week, I sat down with 3 of the Rock League GMs. I'm going to sit down with the remaining 3, Glenn Howard, Carter Rycroft, Christopher Spa, to get the lowdown on their teams, Maple United, Shield Curling Club, and Northern United, respectively. I'm going to probe for those little details just to see how they're approaching Rock League. And yeah, it's just going to be such an exciting time. We are looking forward to it here at the Broom Brothers. Hope you're looking forward to it as well at home. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you back here very soon. Goodbye.